All right, welcome back, everybody. You're with us here on the Deep Dive, and today we're going to be looking into a really interesting situation that's going on right now with the comedian Samay Raina
Yeah?
and his YouTube show, India's Got Latent.
Huh?
So this is going to be a good one, folks. Strap in because it involves a joke and an FIR and
Yeah.
cultural sensitivities in the whole world of independent creators these days.
It really is a fascinating
Yeah.
case study, it is.
So to set the stage for our listeners out there,
Yeah.
Samay Raina, he's really known for his, sharp wit, right?
Yeah.
He was even on Kambanega Korapati,
Right.
had those hilarious bits with Amitabh Bachchan.
Uh-huh.
But India's Got Latent is really where he lets loose
Yeah.
and where this controversy sort of came up.
Yeah, it's independent,
Yeah.
raw. It's interesting.
So to get everyone up to speed, one of the contestants on the show, Jessy Nabam, she's from Arunachal Pradesh, made a joke on the show about people from her state eating dog meat.
Right.
Sometimes even their pets.
Yeah.
And while it seemed like just a joke at the time, things kind of took a turn when FIR was filed against her.
Yeah.
Now, for anyone listening out there who maybe isn't familiar with Indian law,
Right.
FIR, that stands for First Information Report.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the first step in a criminal complaint. And it can lead to a full investigation and legal proceedings.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank
In this
you.
case, the FIR accuses Jessy of making derogatory remarks about the indigenous people of Arunachal Pradesh.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah, so it sounds like things escalated pretty quickly.
yeah.
And this whole thing brings up so many questions.
Yeah.
You know, you've got freedom of speech on the one hand, you've got cultural sensitivity on the other, and then this power of online platforms that are just amplifying everything.
Yeah.
So what's the thing that stands out to you the most?
Well, the complexity of humor, right? Especially when it intersects with cultural identity, what might be funny or acceptable within one cultural context could be deeply offensive in another.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah. And this is a perfect example of that playing out in real time.
Yeah.
Jesse's joke landed very differently with different people.
Yes, definitely. And before we dive deeper into this, if you're finding this conversation interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe to The Other Opinion for more deep dives like this.
Right. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends.
Yes.
We would love to hear their other opinions as well.
Yes, we'd love to hear what you think.
In the comments below.
Absolutely. Engaging in respectful dialogue is so important when navigating sensitive issues.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so let's talk about Samay Raina's role in all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the creator and the host of India's Got Latent. What kind of responsibility does he have for what ends up on the show?
That's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
And there is no easy answer.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you can say he provides a platform for diverse voices and lets these comedians sort of express themselves freely.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, as the host, he has some control, right?
Right.
He can intervene if he feels a joke has crossed the line.
Yeah. And this situation kind of puts a spotlight on Samay's choice to keep India's Got Latent independent.
Right.
He's reportedly turned down offers from huge streaming platforms.
Right.
Netflix, Amazon Prime, we call these OTT platforms.
Yeah.
But he stayed on YouTube, where he has more control over the content.
Yeah, precisely. And that independent spirit, that's part of what draws people to his show. It feels raw, authentic, and uncensored.
Right.
But this incident raises the question about the downsides of that approach.
Right.
Could it be that by staying independent, while it gives him that creative freedom, it also leaves him vulnerable to situations like this?
Yeah, it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time that Samay's been in hot water.
Yeah.
He's known for pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
Which has gotten him both praise and criticism.
It has.
And if you guys are enjoying this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to The Other Opinion for more thought-provoking conversations just like this one.
Yes, it seems like this controversy is bringing a lot of those underlying tensions to the surface.
Totally. So why don't we unpack those tensions a bit more? What are some of the key things to think about when we're trying to balance things like humor and freedom of expression and cultural sensitivity?
I think one of the biggest things is just recognizing that, humor, it's subjective.
Yeah.
And it's so tied to culture.
Right.
What one culture thinks is funny, another culture might find super offensive.
Yeah.
And it's not always clear where the line is.
Yeah, totally. And we're seeing that play out like right now.
Yeah.
Jessy's joke landed totally differently
Right.
with different groups of people.
And this case really highlights,
how social media can amplify those reactions, both the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So fast.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
On the one hand, these comedians, now they've got this platform to reach a global audience and build their brand. But then there's the other side where jokes can go viral instantly.
Yes.
Controversies can just erupt out of nowhere.
Right.
And people online can be really harsh and unforgiving.
Yeah, it's like a high-stakes game now.
Right.
And for those comedians that push the boundaries, it makes you think, how do they keep being creative and challenging while also being aware of, like, what could happen?
Right. Yeah, it's a tough balance to strike.
It is.
You know, between being creative but also being responsible with your words.
And also recognizing that what might have been okay or even funny in the past might not be okay now.
Totally. It's like the world is just
more sensitive now and more connected.
It is a constantly evolving landscape.
Yeah, for sure.
And for comedians who choose to stay independent, like Samay, the stakes are even higher.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they don't have that big network or a company to help them navigate these things.
Yeah, so there's more pressure on them to be aware, to think about ethics, and be ready to deal with these controversies.
And it also highlights how important it is to build a community around your work. Fans who get your humor, who understand your perspective, and are willing to have a conversation even when mistakes are made.
Right, because that community can protect you.
Yes, definitely.
When things get rough online.
It can be a powerful buffer against that kind of outrage.
Do you think this whole thing could scare other comedians?
It's possible seeing a fellow comedian facing legal action and getting so much backlash could make others more careful.
Yeah, especially if they don't have, like,
the
resources to get it.
The resources to weather that kind of storm.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe this could actually be a good thing.
I think it has the potential to be.
Yeah.
Maybe it could make the comedy community better.
Yeah.
A time to look inward and think about being more responsible with humor.
Yeah, it's definitely a turning point, I think.
It is a defining
for the comedy world.
Yeah.
And it'll be really interesting to see what Samay does next.
Yeah, how will he move forward?
Yeah. Will he change his style or
Right. Will he adapt?
Or is he going to just keep doing his thing?
Or double down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how this changes his career.
Absolutely. Only time will tell.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, this has started a really important conversation about comedy today, about how to be sensitive to different cultures.
Yeah, in a globalized world.
Yeah, and about the responsibilities that come with having such a big platform.
Exactly. And speaking of platforms.
Yes.
We want to hear from you guys.
We do.
Our listeners, if you're liking this deep dive into this complex topic,
yes,
hit that like button and subscribe to The Other Opinion.
Please.
For more nuanced conversations like this.
Yes.
And also share it with a friend who might be interested.
Yes, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, leave your other opinions in the comments down below.
What are your other opinions on this Samay Raina situation?
Yes.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely.
Leave a comment below.
And we're back, folks, for the final part of our deep dive into this Samay Raina situation.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting conversation.
It has been. And as we sort of look ahead to the long-term impact of all this, I'm curious what you think about stand-up comedy in general, especially for those comedians like Samay who built their careers online.
Right. And who like to push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah, I think this whole thing is kind of a warning sign.
Okay.
You know, it reminds us that the internet can be a really powerful tool, but it can also be dangerous.
Right. On the one hand, it's given all these new comedians a chance to connect with their audience directly without having to go through the traditional channels.
Right.
But on the other hand, jokes can spread so fast online.
Yeah, that's true.
Controversies can just blow up overnight, and the public can be really quick to judge.
Yeah, and really harsh.
Yeah, so it's a really tricky situation for comedians.
Yeah.
Especially those who like to push the limits.
It is.
How do they keep being creative and challenging while also being aware of the potential consequences? It's about finding that balance between being free to express yourself, but also being responsible.
Right.
And realizing that what might have been okay before might not be okay now. Yeah, things are changing.
Totally. The world is changing.
It's a constantly evolving landscape.
Yeah. And I think for those who choose to stay independent, like Samay,
it's even harder.
Yeah, it's even harder because they don't have that big network or company.
Right, they don't have that support system
to help them navigate all of this.
Yeah.
So they have to be even more careful and aware.
They do.
And they really need to think about the ethics of what they're doing.
Right.
And they need to be prepared to handle these controversies.
And they need to build that strong community of fans who understand them.
Right.
And who are willing to listen even when they mess up.
Yeah, because that community can really protect you.
It can be a powerful buffer against all that negativity online.
Totally. So do you think the whole thing could make other comedians afraid to speak out?
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
You know, when you see another comedian getting into legal trouble and facing such a strong backlash, it could make others hesitate.
Especially if they don't have the means to deal with that.
Exactly, if they don't have the resources to deal with that kind of situation.
But maybe this could be a good thing in the long run.
I think it could be.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll make the comedy community better.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll encourage comedians to think more carefully about their material and their audience.
To be more responsible.
Yeah, to be more responsible with their humor.
Yeah, it's a real turning point.
It is.
And it'll be fascinating to see what Samo does now.
How will he move forward?
Will he change his approach? Or will he just keep doing what he's doing?
Will he adapt? Or will he double down on his style?
It'll be interesting to see how this whole thing affects his career.
Yeah, only time will tell.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, this whole incident has sparked a really important conversation about comedy today, about how to be sensitive to different cultures in our globalized world.
Yeah, it's more important than ever.
Yeah.
And about the responsibilities that come with having such a big platform.
Exactly. And speaking of platforms.
Yes, we want to hear from you guys.
We do.
Our listeners.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all of this?
What are your other opinions?
Leave a comment down below.
Let's keep this conversation going.
And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to The Other Opinion.
Yes, please.
For more deep dives into these kinds of controversial and thought-provoking topics.
And share this episode with your friends and family.
Yeah. Get everyone talking about this.
We're all learning and growing together.
Absolutely.
And these conversations are so important.
Yeah, they help us navigate this crazy digital world.
They do.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. But as always, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Thank you for listening.
And remember, this podcast was AI generated.
Oh, right.
Some of it might be wrong.
Oh.
So we really want to hear your other opinions and perspectives.
Leave a comment below.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.